All right, cool. So we got through the welcome packet and we've seen some of the digital resources. Now we're going to start getting into the individual handbooks. But I'm Dante, and welcome to this video. Going over the ALF Lighting Member Handbook. Now, as I've been saying throughout the series so far, these handbooks are just the idea. You don't have to worry about the actual content inside. So this handbook is basically policies and procedures. Things like core principles, discipline, people's responsibilities and roles and what they'll be doing, and the standards for communication and safety and all that kind of stuff. It's all inside the member handbook. So that's what this video is going to be about. So just to get started, we go, and for me, I started off with the church information. So this is the church mission and vision. That's their mission, and that's their vision there, all this stuff here. So, I'm not going to break this all down for you. I'm just showing you what I put in my handbook, kind of give you an idea of what you could do with yours. Then you have the ministry stuff. So I assembled the mission, motto, pledge, and Bible verse. So the mission is to be masters of light. And again, feel free to use this stuff for your ministry. I mean, it's whatever really. But our motto is to do things safely, quickly, and quietly. And if it cannot be done safely, it can't be done at all. The pledge is the promise of how members will treat one another. So we're going to be kind, honest, and respectful. Then our Bible verse, we have two of them, Genesis 1:3 and Matthew 5:16. God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. "Let your light shine before men so that they may see your good works and honor your Father in heaven." So combining those verses together, and you have "let there be light" and "let that light shine." So that's kind of the biblical foundation that the ministry has. My opinion, every ministry should have a biblical foundation. If the word of God can back you up, you already have a good chance of doing whatever you need to do, and God having your back. Sometimes you have to paraphrase different Bible verses and passages. Lighting ministry, we're able to use specific light verses to get our point across, but sometimes you have to kind of, twist words around. Not in a deceptive way, but it happens. And then I go talk about serving and the importance of serving versus volunteer. Now, members of my ministry do not volunteer. They serve. It's your week to serve. It's your Sunday to serve. It is not volunteer. So that's like the main point of this. And then also talking about why it's important to serve. And I have plenty of biblical references. I'm not going to spell them out for you, but give you the passages at least. Matthew 20:28, John 12:26. But just a couple of them that I use just to emphasize how important it is to serve. So, but I'm going backwards. So next part is importance of punctuality. Now, I'm one of those people that I feel like you should be on time for stuff. I'm not a late person. I give I like give myself plenty of time. Like if I'm going somewhere for the first time, and like you hop on Google Maps or something and it tells you, oh, it's going to take you 45 minutes to get there. I give myself an extra 20 minutes, 30 minutes at least. If I get lost, whether it's by traffic or if I'm trying to go in the building, I'm trying to find the room that I need to be in. Might be on the second floor, third door on the left or something. You want to have time to be able to find that. Arriving at the building at the time of the appointment, you're too late. You're late. By 5 o'clock, if the meeting starts at 5, by 5 o'clock, you're at the table, you're at the desk, you got your pen and your pad out, or you got your laptop and you're ready to take notes. You don't show up at 5. You start at 5. You show up at 5, you're late. And it's just, again, there's some biblical references. 1 Corinthians 14:40, Ecclesiastes 3:2, Philippians 2:3-4. So just some passages in there to give the biblical foundation of why there's an importance of being punctual. And then safety standards. Now, obviously, depending on what kind of ministry you have, you may not need these standards. But when you're dealing with lighting and these kind of hazards, you want to make sure you avoid those. So it's important to have some safety standards just to make sure nothing happens. And if something does happen, how do you respond? So that's kind of the deal here. I got one major rule. No one's allowed to touch anything other than trained members. And the gist is someone could get hurt, and the stuff is expensive. So whether it's people getting hurt or equipment getting hurt, we don't want to run into a place where we have to replace something simply because someone who wasn't supposed to be around was doing something, if that makes sense. So, and again, like I said, what do you do if something does happen? Because things will happen. It's not 100% avoidable. So you need a contingency plan on what do you do when things go down. So there you go. It's power strip and extension cord safety. And again, I have a lot of links and things describing where I got a lot of this information from. But I also have individual handbooks that kind of go over some of the stuff in more detail. So when I get to those handbooks, then I'll link in the description. But anyway, rigging equipment, the tools that you use: gaffer's tape, pipe clamps, safety cables, and of course sandbags. So you have different things that you use to try to keep things secure and avoid potential disasters. And how do you deal with the fog machine? And obviously the first thing I'm talking about is electrocution. And you gotta be careful with the liquids and plugging things in and all that kind of stuff. It can get kind of hazy, pun intended, I guess. Even though fog and haze machines are two different things. But I'm not going to get into the science of what that's about. Other safety rules, random stuff that I just piled in and I couldn't categorize them. Then the positions. So again, depending on your ministry, depending on your needs and things like that, you're going to have different people doing different things, holding different titles, holding different rank. Candles, the training person. Gaffers, the lead. Best boy is the second in command. Spark is the lighting technicians, the workforce. Then different skills that you can learn in lighting. You can learn design, like color theory, programming, that kind of stuff. Operation, operating the equipment. Maintenance and inventory, fixing stuff, keeping track of stuff, that kind of thing. So you can learn different skills or at least improve on those skills. Got a little hierarchy chart. A lot of space. Probably should have tried to squeeze that with the rest, but everyone needs to know who to answer to. Who do you look to for a certain answer? And that's kind of just explaining who's above who and the chain of command and all that good stuff. So then the discipline. Now, this is where it gets kind of tricky. Now, I'm a believer that a lot of churches and a lot of ministries don't really have a big discipline section. Like, they don't have any serious disciplinary actions and standards. And I think a lot of people do that because, well, this is volunteer and I guess we all should be laid back and things like that. But like I said before, you're serving. And, if God's willing to send you to hell, hey, listen, he's not willing, but you know what I'm saying. There are different standards. If you break a rule, especially like Old Testament God was kind of, woof. If you stepped on the stone and said, crap, you're going to hell. Like, you better find the lamb. because you was going to hell. So, I mean, things happen. There have to be rules. And my rules are not extreme. Because I do know at the end of the day, this is a little more relaxed than if you're in school or if you're at work. But it's still important. I don't like people being tardy without notice. I don't like people being absent without notice. You see the key word there, without notice. Like, if you don't tell me what's going on, then I don't know what's going on. And then there's 3 phases of it. Like, if it happens once, okay, we'll talk about it. If it keeps happening over a certain time, we got to sit down and actually have a real talk. And if it keeps happening after that, are you sure you want to serve? Are you sure you're dedicated? What's going on? So it's kind of like a 3 strikes kind of thing. Lack of communication. I think that's fair. If we're not talking, how can I work with you? And then training, if you're not doing your training, too much is given, much is required. So if you want to have that promotion, if you want to move up to that certain rank, you got to put the work in. If you don't, I'm not going to promote you. And then this is not up for debate. You will be immediately thrown out if you intentionally violate the safety standards, intentionally harm, intentionally break. The word intentional. Things happen. We don't mean it to happen. We don't mean to say certain things sometimes. I get it. But if I find that you're like, and especially this one, repetitive breaking, you might break it once or whatever. It might happen. But if you keep doing it, no, you cannot break the pledge. And then dealing with conflict. And how do you deal with that? And we go with Matthew 18:15 through 17, which ultimately, if things don't work out, you treat the person like a heathen and tax collector. That's kind of what Jesus said. I'm not saying that. That's Jesus. That's how he felt. Okay. So, and again, I have it in phases. You got phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4. And it's all based off of the different things that he says, the different scenarios that Jesus presents on how to try to rectify a relationship. And this is also another published piece of such and such. So I might link that article down in the description. But communication standard. How do we communicate with one another? We use Slack, and I talked about that in I think the second video of the series. I talked about Slack, and obviously in person. Excuses I don't really accept. I forgot and I'm busy. If you forgot, we have a lot of technology that you can set a reminder on your phone. Slack itself, you can set reminders in. So I don't like using I forgot. And then I'm busy. Well, if you're too busy to remember or to do something, then you might be too busy to serve in general. And it might be time to take a step back from ministry. So these two ain't going to fly where I'm going to be like, oh, okay, that's all right. No, it's not okay. Do something to help you remember and maybe set your priorities. And then a whole section for Slack. I got Slack. Why? What is Slack? Why do we use it? I obviously talked about that in the in the second video of the series. So, but there's some guidelines that I want you to follow, and then that's kind of a different thing. So that is the handbook. I'm trying to keep this stuff between 10 to 15 minutes, so got through it. If you got any questions about stuff in the handbook, let me know. Otherwise, yeah, that's about it for the handbook. If you want a copy of the handbook so you can use for your lighting ministry or ministry in general, whatever it is, let me know. I'll send you a link to it or whatever file, or email me. But thanks for watching. Oh, make sure you go ahead in the description, link to my website, as well as inside the website there's all kinds of information in there, including a book that I did based off of lighting. So you want to go ahead and check that out and see if you want to brighten up your library. Wink, wink. There's so many puns. All right. Well, thanks for watching. Keep shining.